Hello, everybody. I think it's starting. Right. Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome. I am doing this from my computer. Typically, I do this from my phone, so this is something a little bit different. Yeah, we're talking about reclaiming your schedule, tips to find more time. That's what we're doing today. I got my handy dandy coworker, Winston, in the background. Yep, he's hanging out with me. And I'm just going to make sure everything is okay and that you guys can hear me before I get started. Because I am using a new microphone, so I just want to make sure that it works. But, alright, so, welcome guys. I'm talking about reclaiming your schedule today and giving you tips to find more time, okay? For those who don't know me, my name is Nikki. I am a life coach and I work with individuals to build better habits to reach their goals, whatever those goals might be. Part of a life coach, I help you grow as a human. That's another easier way to say that. So any type of goals that you have when it comes to personal or professional development, it could be with finances, budgeting, time management is a very big one that I see a lot, and that's what we're talking about today: productivity, efficiency, managing your mindset, becoming more self-aware, all that good stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. It looks like everything is okay. All right, so like I said, we're talking about reclaiming your schedule, tips to find more time. Okay, reason why we're talking about this is because everybody needs help with their time management, efficiency, productivity, be more productive, be more efficient with their time. There's always something that we can all improve on, all right, when it comes to managing our schedule. So that's why we're talking about it. And to be honest, everybody's overwhelmed. We all have so many things going on all the time that we can't seem to get a handle on, figure out, whatever that might be, and that's why we're going to focus on it today. I guarantee you will walk away with at least one tip that you can use moving forward to make sure that you're more productive, efficient, you feel more focused, and you're not so overwhelmed all the damn time, right? All right, so I have 5 tips for you. 5 tips today. And I'm sorry, I'm just checking to make sure everything's okay. All right, so 5 tips that I have for you. The first one is planning out your week and schedule every single day, all right? I know some of these tips are probably not going to be new things that you hear, and that's okay, all right? When it comes to planning out your week and every day, this means being consistent planning and scheduling, okay? Now, when it comes to planning out your week or your days, you first need to start and find some sort of system that works best for you, whether it is an online calendar, a paper schedule, anything of that nature. Find something that works for you. You can't go half paper and half online schedule. You have to find one consistent thing that works for you. Some examples of that are Google Calendars. I don't know if Apple has one. I don't use Apple, but if you have an online calendar on your phone, you can get those daily journals or daily calendars. Another great one, if you're really into scheduling and you want to find something super efficient, is the Michael Hyatt schedulers. I have one. They're super detailed, super oriented, but you have to find one specific way that you're going to always schedule, okay? Now, before your week actually starts, you need to get a layout and survey what's going on this week and what needs to be done. What are your goals and what do you want to accomplish this week? All right? That involves work and personal life. So if you need to go grocery shopping, if you plan on exercising 4 days a week, if you have a big project that's due at work, this is your time to just kind of do a quick thought download and think about everything that you have to do. All right? Let me just make sure everything's okay. Okay, cool. Awesome. So, you need to do a thought download and realize or think, write down everything that you want to accomplish. Then you need to prioritize and say, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to the gym. That's going to be at 6 a.m. before I go to work. Then Tuesday evening, once I'm done with work, I'm going grocery shopping. And if I'm going grocery shopping, that means that I need to plan out what I'm getting when I go to the grocery store. So that's going to be my task Monday night. All right, you need to prioritize and list everything out. All right. Now, that's what you're just going to do, a general overview for your entire week. But then once you get to every single day, you can do this at nighttime before the day starts or early in the morning if you're an early riser. Figure out what exactly is going on with every single day, or not every single day, every hour in that day. So that's your time to make any changes. So if you plan on going grocery shopping Tuesday night and that's not working because something came up at work and you need to change things, this is your time to change it. So just because you make this big schedule, let's just say on Sunday when you start your week, does not mean that it's actually going to go according to plan, because shit happens. That's a part of life. So you need to make corrections and figure out what's going on. Okay? So you can choose based on if you want to do that at night or if you want to do that in the morning. For me, I'm a morning person. My morning time is for me to prepare my day and make sure that I'm set up for success and I'm not overwhelmed. You know, I have everything planned out. So that's the time that I do it. This should take you only 5 minutes, okay? It is very, very quick, all right? When you start doing this, it may take a little bit longer because you just need to take time to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, okay? Maybe when you plan out your entire week as well, that's going to take maybe 10 minutes, okay? But it won't take that long. Excuse me. All right, so tip number 1, planning everything out. And, you know, it doesn't have to be everything, but planning out so you have a general idea, because it is all about balance, which gets into tip number 2, okay? The more you plan out, the more productive you're going to be, and then the more time you're going to find to do whatever you want. Leading into tip number 2, there's got to be balance, and you got to schedule rest time, okay? Just because you're productive does not mean that you are busy all the time, all right? I'm going to repeat that because that is very, very important to understand, something that I constantly work on with myself and in my business. Just because you are productive does not mean that you are busy all the time. You need to schedule rest time for you, because if you do all these tips and you find all this extra time and things are going awesome, you're just going to burn yourself out, okay? That's not the point of this. The point is to make sure that you are not overwhelmed, that you are more efficient, and that you plan out your time so you don't have all those chaotic thoughts going through your head trying to figure out what your next move is. All right? So, going back to planning out your weeks with tip number 1, or planning out your days, make sure that you have time to do quote-unquote nothing. Whatever your nothing might be. Does that mean just laying on the couch and scrolling through your phone? Does that mean watching TV? Does that mean going for a walk? Whatever floats your boat, whatever you think rest is for you, make sure you factor that in. You want a night to go out to dinner with friends? Plan it. All right? You're allowed to have that rest time. And really, let me look. I just lost my train of thought. I have notes, so I want to make sure that I say everything that I need to say, of course. All right. So we think we're too busy to take breaks, and I get that, especially when it comes to work. If you are in a salary position, you just think we got to go, 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 and I am 100% guilty of that, all right? But in reality, you're not. You're not too busy. You can schedule rest time. You can schedule a lunch break, whatever that might be. You're allowing your thoughts about how busy you are drive your emotions of overwhelm and chaos, which creates all those frantic tasks, okay? So just remember that you're not too busy. You just need to manage your thoughts around what's going on. And whatever's going on, you're going to get to it, but you need to make sure you schedule that rest, because when you don't schedule rest, you're less efficient, and then you waste more time. And the purpose of this is to find more time so you can get more organized. When you don't schedule rest, you get bored. You won't appreciate really how much you actually accomplished because you're just trying to get to the next task. Your brain doesn't get a break, so it's just going, going, going on that hamster wheel, constantly moving. You can't commit important information to memory because you're always going and you're not giving your brain a break, and then you run out of energy. All right? I'm sure you've experienced one of those things when you haven't allowed yourself time to rest. And I know that's difficult for everybody, especially for parents we have other things going on, but being very purposeful about that time can at least help you make the effort to schedule that out, okay? One of my one thing that I saw a lot for me, because I just said I'm guilty about this, not giving myself breaks. When I don't give myself breaks and I just go, 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 I start forgetting things. So I can't commit those things to memory. So if I have a conversation with someone, or maybe a client, or back in the day a coworker, I would forget what we talked about, and then I would miss something. Something would happen. So just kind of be a little more aware of that when it comes to giving yourself rest. All right. Next one, tip number 3 is being consistent. Once again, this is not groundbreaking tips. If it is, great, but I'm sure you guys have always heard these tips so far, or if you've heard it somewhere else, okay? Being consistent with scheduling so you can gain more time and get more organized is the most important tip I will give you today. All right, being consistent, and you have to be intentional about it. That's the one thing. I can tell you all these things, but if you're not intentional about planning out your weeks or taking 5 minutes out of your day to plan out your next day or that morning of, or scheduling rest time or anything of that, it's not going to work. Okay? You have to be intentional. And I'm not going to lie, creating these habits are not always glamorous and fun. I get it. Some people don't like scheduling things out, but it is necessary, because if you don't schedule things out, guess what? You're just going to live in this chaos and frantic style that you keep on going through, or process, that hamster wheel. That's always how I like to refer to it. You're just going, 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 going. All right? You have to be intentional. That could be in the form of going to bed on time. If you're one of those people that's like, yeah, I'm going to go to bed at 10:30, guess what? It's 12 o'clock and you're scrolling through TikTok. You're not being intentional about going to bed. All right? Could be for your morning time. If you're someone that just is not good getting up in the morning and you want to make it part of your day to plan out things, going back to tip number 1, planning out your day to make sure that you have everything under control. Be more intentional getting up at that 2nd alarm instead of the 5th alarm, whatever that might be. Be more consistent or intentional with creating routines for certain times of the day, whatever that might mean to you, because we're all on different schedules, different work schedules, different time frames. You just need to make sure that you plan those things out and you are consistent. Just don't do it 2 days a week. Do it 5 days a week, or at least start somewhere small. So if this is something that's foreign to you, where you didn't grow up maybe in structure or consistency, and this is a new skill that you are learning, that's okay. Start small. So maybe that may be 2 days a week, but make sure you're consistent about those 2 days a week in building these habits. All right? Start with however many days you want. Just be consistent and intentional. Okay? Tip number 4, this is like a contender for number 1. I would say this is a tiebreaker when it comes to being consistent with things, okay? Understanding your roadblocks and what works best for you, okay? Here's the thing. I could list out 20 other tips on how to reclaim your schedule, how to find more time, but if you don't understand yourself and what's going on for you, these won't work, okay? It's kind of the same thing, going back to tip number 3. If you're not consistent with it, it's not going to work for you. Sorry. So, you have to understand what gets in your way and take specific tips or actions to make sure that you're successful, or you start working on fixing that bad habit, okay? So what roadblocks get in your way from getting productive? Easiest one to list out for everybody is your phone, right? We get bored at work, an email comes through and you're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with that. You know what, let me just go on my phone and let me just scroll through. Next thing you know, 10 minutes passes by and you're like, shit, I just scrolled through Facebook for 10 minutes when I should have just knocked out those 5 emails. Okay? So what is your roadblock? Is it your phone? Do you like to procrastinate? Is it social media? You know, are you a morning or night person? So it's not even just your roadblocks, but also what works best for you. Remember that part of tip 4. So are you a morning or night person? If you're a morning person like me, great. That's when you're going to be most productive. So I'm going to schedule those hard tasks or maybe more tasks than normal in the morning for me so I can have a calmer evening and schedule my rest time then. Okay? Or if you're vice versa, you're not a morning person, so your mornings may be a little bit slow. If you're someone that procrastinates, making sure that you have maybe deadlines, or this goes back to planning your days, weeks, whatever it might be, plan that ahead. All right? Make sure that you understand that you procrastinate and work against that. So if it's due on Friday, you need to start working on it on Monday. Okay? You know if you sorry, I'm just stumbling all of a sudden. You know if you procrastinate, okay? So let's start working towards fixing that. Okay? It doesn't have to be that way. So, if your phone is an issue for you, silence it. Put it in your purse. Put it somewhere away from where you're working. Or put it next to your bedstand when you get home so you can work on doing the laundry and the dishes or whatever it might be that you need to actually do for that night. Okay? What other distractions do you guys have? Just think about that. Make a mental note for that. What things distract you? The biggest thing is probably your phone. So how can you work against that? All right, how can you help yourself while managing that roadblock? Another one as well is multitasking, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but just know there's plenty of research articles out there, all that kind of stuff about multitasking and how that doesn't work to your favor, okay? You may think that you are more productive writing this email and checking this text message on your phone at the same time or going back and forth between projects, but it actually takes you like, I just read that study, it's like 20 something minutes just for your brain to fully adjust and get back on track to what you switched over to. All right, plenty of statistics around that. Look it up. If you are someone that favors multitasking, try working against that or trying to fix that. You know what I'm trying to say. All right, let's see. Oh, sorry, Brian, I just saw your message. I keep a written calendar in my briefcase and transfer it to my phone once a day. That's awesome. And find a way that works for you. If that's something that works for you, great. But, like I said, going back to tip number 1, make sure you don't do half and half. All right? Make sure it's one way, or if you have a system where you write it down and then you transfer it to your phone, great. Do what works best for you, right? All right. Tip number 5. Tip number 5, and once again, this is groundbreaking, okay? Just do it, all right? Now, this comes to certain tasks, I will say, okay? When it comes to overwhelm and procrastination and getting things in order and all that kind of stuff, we find all the excuses of not to do something, right? That's where the procrastination definitely comes into play. You're like, meh, I can do that later. Meh, I got 5 days left. I don't need to do that right now, all right? But at some point, you just need to start working towards fixing those things or separating yourself from your brain and those thoughts that create those excuses, that create the procrastination, and just say, you know what, this is not acceptable, or this is hindering me. I need to suck it up and just do it, okay? I don't want you to just completely bypass your feelings or like anything of that nature, but you know when something you're taking advantage of yourself, or you're procrastinating, or you know that something is going to bite you back in the butt, okay? So, you know, prime example that I'm sure a lot of people deal with is maybe dishes or laundry. Something, it's typically, I feel like, house chores, and this is what I'm kind of referring to as well when it comes to just doing it, because You know, these tips aren't just for your professional life, it's for your personal life as well. Okay, so I just lost my train of thought. Okay, so just doing it. Like the examples that I was gonna say is like laundry. We like to just throw that stuff in the corner and then just keep on letting it pile up until we don't have any more jeans, or until we have 3 loads of laundry and now we have to spend 3 hours doing laundry instead of 1 hour a week. All right. Have you guys ever heard of the 2-minute rule? If some task takes less than 2 minutes, just do it. All right. If you do it now and knock it out of the way, you are not giving into your procrastination and you're just getting it done. Okay. I guarantee you when it comes to procrastination and just like talking ourselves out of things, the more you allow yourself to sit there and think like, ugh, I don't want to do this. This sounds stupid. I'd rather just lay on the couch. The more time you give yourself talking about it, that's probably the same amount of time you could have just done it. Okay. I know that can be difficult for some people. I totally get that. That's a tip that you may have to intentionally or consistently focus on to just do it. Okay. So dishes, picking up laundry, running the dryer, taking out the trash, whatever that might be. Okay. These small habits that you just need to do will build more time into your schedule because the action of just doing it will bleed into other tasks. So the more you focus on just doing the dishes, the more you're probably going to say, you know what, let me just throw this load in the laundry real quick. Or the washer, whatever you want to call it. Okay? When you start building those habits in certain places, it's going to bleed into other aspects of your life. Okay? Same thing with all these other tips. The more you focus on managing your procrastination, the more you focus on not allowing yourself to scroll through Facebook when you don't want to do something, the more you focus on being consistent, the more you focus on scheduling rest time, the more you focus on planning your week and your days, you're going to get better and better at it. And those habits are going to bleed into other parts of your life. Okay? Do you guys have any questions? Any questions? And while you guys are maybe commenting on something or commenting on the question, clearly I can't talk anymore. Tip number 1 is planning out your weeks and your days. Tip number 2 is scheduling your rest time. Tip number 3, being consistent with the scheduling or the tasks that you're doing, being intentional. Tip number 4 is understanding your roadblocks and understanding what works best for you. Okay, so what hinders you and what helps you. And tip number 5, just do it. Any questions or anything, or do you guys have any tips? What works good for you guys? What's, what works best for you guys? All right, because, just as Brian said in the comments, it depends on what works best for you. You have to experiment. So you have to figure out what works best for you and then commit to doing that. Okay? When you use these tips, you create those habits that you need to reach your goals. You're going to create discipline. You're going to create consistency. You're going to create perseverance, grit, resiliency, whatever that might be. Dedication, accountability. Okay? So just focus, maybe take away just one of these items and just focus on that. Whether it's spending 10 minutes on Sundays getting your days or your weeks ready. Whether it's just being consistent with one task of making the bed, doing your laundry, whatever that might be. Maybe just understanding or working against that procrastination. Or just doing it. Like I said, just take out the trash, whatever that might be. Okay? So, let me know what your thoughts are. The next live that I have is going to be on Sunday, and that's where we're going to take these tips and put them into action. Okay? So Sunday, that is, the event's called Let's Get Organized, and that's going to be action-packed. So you're going to have to bring your calendar, your notepad, your pen. You're going to have to understand what's going on this week, or really that's the goal for Sunday, is that we are going to go through your schedule as a group And then you're going to figure out what works best for you. When do you need to do that grocery shopping? When do you need to go? When do you want to go to the gym? When do you want to work on this project for work? We're going to get organized and figure out what you need to do. Okay? So we're going to practice these tips that we just talked about. All right? So be sure to tune in Sunday at 2 p.m. And if you can't attend that one, these videos are recorded and they're going to get posted on Unleash Leadership Facebook page. You can go back and look at that and do that exercise yourself. All right? Any questions? Any questions? Alrighty. Well, I think I covered everything. That's pretty much everything. We got our tips. We talked about what we are doing, why we're doing it, how this is going to affect you, what you need to do with this information moving forward. Come back on Sunday. We'll put this to action. And I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, evening. Clearly my brain's shutting down. I told you I'm a morning person. It's 5:30. My brain's like, done. All right, Winnie. Say bye. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good evening.